If we're not at a Disney park, we're dreaming about being there, and a cup of Joffrey's Coffee Disney Blend helps. But what about when you're at a Disney park? The Joffrey's Disney Kiosk and Restaurant Locator will make sure you never miss out, whether it's a cool drink on a hot summer vacation or a great cup of coffee at a Disney signature restaurant. Joffrey's has you covered. Check it out at Joffreys.com.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
The body of water that you see to the right of our forward motion is the Seven Seas Lagoon. The Seven Seas Lagoon is a man-made creation that took 3 years and the removal of millions of cubic yards of earth to complete.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Scott. This is ResortLoop.com. Before we get into this exciting show, I just want to mention our sponsor, Joffrey's. The new flavor is here, everybody. You guys helped create it. It was the the Cocoa Cookie Oats coffee right now. Enjoy 20% off. You can use the code FLAVOR19. That's good through September 27th. On that note, speaking of people who are my favorite cookies, the DVC Roundtable. Hey, guys.
Hey there.
Tim, it's good to be here.
It is good. Right now, you hear Mr. Joe Quattrochi. Hey, Joe.
Oh, Tim, like I said, it's been a long time since I've been on the show, but I'm happy to be here. Let's talk some DVC.
I love it. Happy you're here. Also, Brett Coates.
Hey, Snickerdoodle.
Oh. My wife said
made me think about cookies. Stop.
My wife said she's making cookies tomorrow. I'm very excited. And also joining us, Emily Hansa Hicks.
And now I'm really thirsty for some of that yummy coffee. Cannot wait to try it.
I know. I'm very excited. And 20% off with that code FLAVOR19. Let's get that going.
You know that's happening right after this.
Absolutely. So let's get started. We got DVC Roundtable. We got some good news. We have a couple questions we have to get to later in the show. Emily, why don't you start us off with your news?
You got it. So Disney has decided buyers of Disney Vacation Club fixed week deeds can get the same sales incentives that are offered to traditional flexible point deeds. What this means is, normally with the fixed week option, the buyer will select a specific week, villa, and view category, and then the accommodation is automatically booked every year before the 11-month window. So that means if you're wondering why your category is always gone, it's because somebody already has that week potentially in a fixed week. The fixed week is guaranteed. They will always have that type of accommodation purchase. They also can opt out for using that fixed week, and I believe that the opt out is for 30 days in advance. A fixed week costs about 10% more than with a comparable flexible point deed, and in part that is to accommodate for the fact that the point value may change for that week. With that change in policy, fixed week buyers are now able to get the same discounts that are available to the other buyers. So that essentially this just affects you if you're purchasing directly and you're trying to get a sales incentive, like one of the specials or the deals that they have published. So now if you were to purchase a fixed week, you could qualify for the savings that are currently offered of at least 500 on deeds containing 125 points up to 21,000 off of deeds containing 1,000 points. And I'll tell you what, when I'm buying a deed that contains 1,000 points, I probably won't be too worried about that 21,000, although I will totally take it. So I just can't imagine I'll be in the position to be worrying about that at that point. But Brad, I feel like you have 1,000 points, so tell us about that.
Yeah, that ship hasn't quite come in yet, but no. But you know what? I was kind of shocked because I didn't realize when they buy the fixed week they weren't offered the incentives. That's kind of.
I agree.
I think this is just a no-brainer. They're already paying 10% more. Right. I would be tempted to buy this only because I could get exactly what I wanted because it books, before the 11-month window even opens. To me, if I was going every year still in that stage, I might spend the extra, have done that. But of course, at this stage, that's not really where we're at. So,
hey, Brad, who this kind of really relates to, and I've said this before with my family having timeshare, not only in Orlando at at a non-Disney property, but also in Aruba. My parents, I'm on the deed as well, but they have 3 weeks of timeshare in Aruba. They've had it for over 30 years. And they go the same exact weeks every year, and they see the same people down there. And it's like, that's what they live for every year. They have their crew that they go down there. They're from all over the world, and they see the same people. And that's who this really, applies to. And if you've got, we've all seen these people in the parks. We've seen these groups of people that are there, large groups, their families, their friends. If you've got that tradition where you go Thanksgiving week every year, or Christmas week, or Easter week, or even it could be a random week in May, who knows? This is what you want, because if you just say the 4 of our families, the Scott family, the Brad Coates family, the Emily Hans Hicks family, my family, we all want to go to Disney the same year all the time. This would be a no-brainer to go to DVC and say, we have 4 families, we all want a vacation the same year. It makes not saying, oh, did you get the room at the resort? It just makes it, we're set in that time frame. Yeah. So there is a market for this. But I was really surprised, like what Brad said too, like that they wouldn't offer these incentives to them as well, even though you're paying a premium for it. So I was very surprised. But yeah, there definitely is a market out there for it. And this was very fresh in my head because my parents just returning from Aruba recently and telling me about their trip and hearing about it. This is exactly they're the clientele this would definitely pertain to.
Sure.
Right, and 2 little relevant, one addendum and one caveat, because I have to throw in some of those words right now. So the fixed week, I've seen these actually in resale contracts where the fixed week actually travel with the resale contract. So if you're interested in that, check it out, because I actually recently, I don't even remember why I was poking around DVC Resale, the consolidator. I forget what the actual site is, but if you search DVC Resale Consolidator, it'll come up and it kind of like gathers all of the listings on all of the sites together. And then you can go to the individual site after you find the contract that matches your interest. But of course I was just poking around there, but I found one with a fixed week. So I thought that was interesting. And it was a really weird fixed week to me. I didn't think, it didn't really strike any, like that didn't look like Easter to me or anything like that. But I did think, because our school system has the exact same week for spring break every year, wouldn't that be nice to just lock that down, except that I don't really want to go to Disney for spring break crowds. So, but we do have kids, and so it may not be a choice that we get to go when school is in session all the time. So that is something I was kind of tossing around in my mind. Like, I wonder if I could find something that week of spring break, since our district has decided to keep that week fixed.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it's a really handy thing. And then the caveat I was going to give you was that, let's see, fixed weeks. Man, I forgot it. Slipped by. Oh, well, I'm sure it'll come to me later. But I think it's a limitation on the fixed week situation. Oh, well, anyway, moving on.
Well, if you remember it, raise your hand.
That's right.
We'll recognize you in the class.
We will call upon you.
Guys, I'm sorry. I'm like, yeah, and another. Okay. Oh, lost.
No problem.
Squirrel.
There you go.
You can tell I still have young children because I have no memory left.
That's right. All right, Brad, you wanted to get us to our next story?
Yeah. So this is an interesting story that came out on DVCnews.com, talking about a new option. Well, I think this option's already been there for some things, but they're expanding it. Disney Vacation Club members now, when you are staying in a 3-bedroom grand villa. By the way, if you're staying in a grand villa, I need to give you my personal email and phone number. You need to call.
That's right. You can host the DVC Roundtable.
3rd bedroom, just in case.
Host the DVC Roundtable.
But anyway, if you're staying in a 3-bedroom grand villa, you are eligible now to purchase additional Fastpass entitlements beyond the 3 that you are typically allocated as a Walt Disney World guest. And so it's a fee of $50 per individual per day. So definitely not for the faint of heart. It's not Max Pass in Disneyland at $10 a day. It's $50 a day. But you do get 3 additional Fast Passes that you can book up to 90 days prior to arrival, which is pretty cool. So now you could do 6 Fast Passes instead of 3, 90 days. 3 additionals booked up to 90 days prior. So, and then normal is 60. So then now you really got a good shot at getting some of those difficult ones, the Avatar and those things, because you're now booking 90 days out. That's pretty impressive. Multiple sources have confirmed that this perk is now being offered to guests staying in Grand Villas throughout Walt Disney World, including DVC members booking those rooms with points. So I think might have been happening before, but now it's being offered to DVC that are staying on points. But I could be wrong on that. But anyway, so now there are a couple of things you got to pay attention to with this. The additional Fastpasses must be booked directly through Disney signature services, not through your app. Guests wishing to purchase the additional Fastpasses must buy into the program for at least 3 days as well. So in other words, you can't do $50 for one day and just like when I go to Disneyland, I usually buy Max Pass one day. So I do all the stuff I run to blow out in one day, and then only one of us buys Max Pass the other 2 days so that I get the free photo pass. So, but I don't buy Max Pass for the whole family every day because we don't need it. Mm-hmm. So, but with this, you have to buy the pass for 3 days. So the minimum is going to be $150 per person per guest. So now it does say that there is no length of stay requirement, and the 3 days do not have to be consecutive. So you could do 3 on a 5-day ticket or a 6 day, 5-day stay, 6-day stay, 6-day ticket, and then do it on Monday, then skip a day, and then do it on Thursday. But there's no length of stay. Also, there is no mandate that all registered guests staying in the villa have to participate in the program. So if only a couple of you want to do it, and to get the big rides. This is the complete
opposite of the meal plan.
Right.
Yes. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And we're flexible, So it's kind of a cool idea. It's got a lot of flexibility in it, other than you have to buy it for 3 days. That's really the only thing that's not super flexible on it. Most aspects of the Fast Pass purchase can be modified during the trip as long as the 3-day minimum is maintained. So you can't drop to 2 days. You can't do any of that, but you can adjust. You can switch days. You can adjust your scheduled ride times, pending availability, of course. You can move the purchase to different days. Switch from Wednesday night, you want to go to Tuesday. And another nice thing is you can actually use the Fast Passes in more than one park. So nice. The original ones are still, I'm sure, still going to book one park just like they do now. But these extra ones say you could book the other 3 in a different park.
That's interesting.
If you wanted to, or multiple parks. So kind of an interesting offer. Yeah. The only makes you wonder if what shoe's going to drop next. If this goes well,
right?
Probably going to see this being offered to other people. If you go to, but for those of you you're interested in this, I'll go ahead and give you the phone number you call, but you can also look it up through Disney. But the Disney Signature Services is 407-939-7777. So give them a call if you have any more questions, and somebody do it and let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to know if they're tiered, if you have like the same limitations, like you can only get.
That's a good thought too. Yeah. Did it change the tiers? Can I do more in the tier 1 than I could do?
Right.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
You could just hop around Slinky Dog and then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now Hollywood Studios, they actually do more than one ride and then have to stand in line for everything else.
Right.
Because all the second tiers, like, I don't need a Fast Pass for that.
I would say, Brad, with this, if you're somebody who doesn't vacation at Walt Disney World often, and you've got a big group and you're staying in a Grand Villa, this isn't a bad deal. And the reason why I say it's not a bad deal is it's like $16 a Fast Pass per ride if you were to do the math, minimum of 3 days, $150 per person. However, I'm using my example as I just went to Busch Gardens a few weeks ago, and I went to the other park down I-4, right, in Tampa. And we never go to Busch Gardens. So I said, I want to do something different. So Busch Gardens has a thing called the Quick Queue. And the Quick Queue essentially is like their version of Fast Pass, but you essentially, there's like no line. You just go right to the front. And I bought the unlimited thing, right? So the unlimited costs actually double what my park ticket costs, right? I got like a discount on the park ticket. But I was like, I'm only coming here once a year. Man, I walked on things and that were like hour waits, hour and a half waits. Me and Jen waited 8-9 minutes. They're very slow loaders in Tampa. It was worth it. I said, you know what? I'm not waiting in line. Like, we're all going to be here one day. It might rain in the afternoon. let's just spend the money and do it. It's my birthday too. So we went and did it. So if you're this family that is on this once in a lifetime trip or a once every 2-3 year trip, and you're staying in a Granville on points, and you want to say a couple of days, we're going to get some extra fast passes. It's not a bad idea. As somebody who just kind of experienced something like this, where it was nice just to walk on those extra 3 attractions, and if there are no restrictions, like Emily, you just brought up that maybe they won't be tiered, that's huge. I mean, that could be a Seven Dwarfs Mine Train plus a Space Mountain, Thunder Mountain, Splash Mountain, maybe a Tron when it opens up in a few years. Like, that's a huge deal if you add 3 more top level attractions where you can maybe use them anywhere,
right?
Like the Magic Fast Passes. So I'm still, and I know a lot of people are cringing, and I'm saying I'm still surprised that they haven't, because I'm sure Six Flags does something similar to this, and I know Universal has it. We stay in their deluxe resorts, they have the Universal Pass. What was that called? The Universal? I did it once with
Express Pass.
Express Pass, yeah. Me and Rebecca had one time we hung out at Universal. So yeah, I'm surprised that Disney hasn't done. This is probably the first step of it. Maybe offering it to a small group of people, because there aren't a lot of Grand Villas on property, so it's really not affecting too much of the day-to-day operations with the Fast Pass. Maybe do as a test run, like you guys said. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see this expand, especially with Galaxy's Edge opening today. And yeah,
Great.
I mean,
you guys know. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say that you guys know that I'm the type that, listen, I'm not rich, but to me, I've already spent so much money to do this trip. I am not opposed to spending a little more to make it magical, to make it. To me, I'm with you, Joe. I'm looking at it going, listen, yes, when you look at the numbers and you think, and then it looks expensive, and it's like they're just gouging me again. Well, I could see where people feel that way, but then I look at it and I go, it's Disney, and it's going to make it magical. And I'm like you said, what if I can now get into Hollywood Studios, not have to stand in line for Slinky and then Tower of Terror and all the ones that are now Tier 1. I don't know if you noticed, but some of them that used to be Tier 2s now got moved to Tier 1 when they opened Galaxy's Edge, which isn't even on the Fast Pass. So now there's like nothing on Tier 1. It's like, okay. I mean, nothing on Tier 2 that's worth anything. So it's, I think they moved Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster are both Tier 1 now. And
the fact they're not making you do it length of stay, they're actually letting you be flexible with it. It's like, hey, you could do it on day 2, 4, and 5, and we're going to do water parks these days, so I don't have to feel like I'm wasting Fast Passes when I'm not going to be in the parks with it. I'm actually pretty surprised that they're being so lenient with it, or being so flexible. With how you could use these, but yeah, hopefully
one of our listeners will do it and let us know.
Absolutely.
Right. I finally remembered what I was going to say about those fixed weeks.
Okay.
And that is that Joe's example, where you have like 4 families that go down every year, they do have a cap contractually, if I recall correctly, from when they were first released, because I was concerned as a DVC owner that the fixed weeks would just essentially lock out specific time periods for regular DVC owners that don't have that fixed week. So essentially they get first dibs on a room that I should have equal access to at the 11-month window or the 7-month window, right? So they actually do have like a fixed percentage. They're only allowed to, I think, sell 1/3 of any particular unit in a fixed week way. So for what it's worth, you probably could go get 4 people with the same, or 4 families with the same fixed week, but there is some limitation to everybody being able to get the same fixed week at the same resort. You couldn't book it all out, essentially, with friends and family. There is some restriction.
Okay. All right. Great.
So there you go.
Good to know. Hey, Joe, do you want to get us to our next story?
Sure. Yeah. As we all know, D23 just happened out in Southern California, and there was an announcement about Disney's. About a Reflections at Disney Lakeside Lodge is coming out. They came out with the logo and with the new tagline, and the new tagline for Reflections at Disney Lakeside Lodge will be "The wonders of nature are endless." So the resort will have both DVC club villas and traditional style hotel rooms. So similar to like Boardwalk has like the inside and the DVC side. Balcony sizes and layouts suggest that the hotel rooms are located in the wing to the right of the main entry, while DVC villas are located to the left. So I guess it depends on which way you're facing the building. Disney has confirmed that the resort's waterfront restaurant will be themed around the Disney animated film The Princess and the Frog. While images suggest a table service dining facility, Disney did not reveal if plans call for an elite signature dining venue. I'm kind of thinking that if the way this kind of sounds, they've got to put a signature restaurant in here.
Oh, yeah.
I
would expect nothing less.
Exactly. The new resort will feature a variety of accommodations. These stilted treehouse type structures appear to be one of those unique guest rooms. There's a picture on DVCnews.com. It is not known if these rooms will be allocated to the hotel or made available as the DVC villas. They also released the logo for the resort, and just for everybody listening, the logo, it's essentially, it looks like it's a solid triangle, and then straight just to the left of it, it's another triangle that's not completely connected. However, I actually like it.
It looks like a teepee.
It looks like a teepee. Yeah, essentially, it looks
like a
teepee.
Mountain with a teepee in front of it.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the name. I've been on the record on multiple shows saying I'm not a fan of the name, but I actually do like the logo. I mean, sometimes the resorts get away from the logos. We all love. I mean, Tim, I know you're a big Contemporary guy. The Contemporary logo has had a few revisions over it, but it's still amazing.
Yes.
You know, the Polynesian logo with Maui on it.
Classic.
Those are iconic. The Grand Floridian GF. I mean, those are iconic logos. This is actually simple, but it's cool. I can actually see this on a golf shirt or on like a hat or a luggage tag. So they actually did a pretty good job with the logo. I was actually pretty excited when I saw it. I was like, don't like the name, like the logo though. So, but yeah, I was just in Disney a few weeks ago, and I actually on the way back from Busch Gardens, and they are definitely clearing the land next to Fort Wilderness for this. It's going, it's happening. So,
yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, it's I don't know if I'm a big fan of. I don't know if everything feels like it has to be tied to a movie.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about The Princess and the Frog, I mean, like, imagine if California Grill had like IPs tied to it.
Exactly.
Or Victorian Hour. So. I hope that they if you want to do something fun like that with one of the restaurants, fine, but I would like to see maybe have some kind of original idea as well. Maybe bring in like a high-end chef, you know, kind of like V&A's got like, you know, one of the Michelin chefs, whatever, but Michelin starred chefs, but
well, if you think about like Be Our Guest and what a hit that was, as far as if they can do it right, I think it would be so cool to have Tiana's place.
And I'm that way too. I hear what you're saying, Joe, and I agree. If they go over the top with it, it's like, why? But if they mute it like they do in a lot of the resorts, to where it's really not tied to a frog thing sitting there, but it's just really doing a bayou kind of a feel with Tiana and symbols around it. You know, I could handle that, but I'm with you. I don't want it to be so over the top.
I'm still holding out hope, and I've said this so many times. I'm like, it's built on the former River Country site. There's got to be some kind of tie to River Country. There's got to be some kind of like a name of a restaurant or a quick service that's tied to River Country with a name, or I don't know, something. But it's too historic of a site to not reference, you know, what used to be there. Like, for example, like, even like when you go on Test Track, you still see those World of Motion like logos and symbols all over the place. It just gives a little homage to what used to be there. And I really hope that they do something with this as well.
Yeah, agreed.
I hope they will.
Yeah.
But by the way, just to finish the news article here, it's going to have approximately 900 hotel rooms. It's planned to open in 2022, which seems far away, but the way things are happening, it's going to come pretty quick.
Right.
So, just around the corner.
Yeah.
One more observation on the logo.
Mm-hmm.
One of the main reasons I love this logo, I'm with you, Joe. The main reason I love it is because my last rant, we talked about the reflections, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's reflections, and then a little, almost like a byline, a Disney Lakeside Lodge. So it's like they're really making reflections kind of the name of the resort. And even though I'm with Joe, I really wish they'd have done more of an homage to what's there. At least it looks like they're honing in on, instead of this thing being some big long tagline name, it's reflections.
And the Disney Lakeside Lodge, if everybody's familiar with the Alani logo, it's a Alani, and then underneath is a Disney resort and spa.
Exactly.
So, and the emphasis is on Alani. So this is the same way they're way they're going with is.
Yeah. So that's going to be for Reflections as a name, and the other's a descriptor, and
Right.
yay, because I was afraid it was going to be the whole name, and so was a lot of people. It was like, oh, please, come on, just give it a name.
Right.
Stop.
I'm gonna be difficult and say I think the logo's a little bit boring, but that's all I'll say about that.
Well, sometimes simple is good. So
Yeah.
but I like it that, Emily, I respect that, but I like that at least it's unique. It's not just it's not just blah. Well, I mean, I guess it kind of maybe is a little blah, but it's unique to what it is. It's not just a stylized script of something.
That's true.
It is simple, but it's serene.
Yes.
That makes sense.
And it is
just
evocative.
Makes you,
it makes you think of mountains, teepees.
you see the reflecting water the picture, for those that aren't seeing it, you see the trees and they're reflecting into the water, and that's creating that experience that you're going to walk into the hills and the trees, and it's going to be quiet and
Disney,
and you're going to reflect.
That's right.
That's right. And Brad, Disney's 2 for 2 at D23 logos. With the Epcot logo and now this. I think
It's true.
Finally, I mean, they were kind of a dud with Hollywood Studios when that came out, a few months back. But I think for these 2 that came out, I think they did a good job.
Nice. All right, we'll take some time, but we have a couple questions. Emily, why don't you read us a question you have?
Sure, and actually, I think both of our questions surround the issue of direct or resale. But I'll start off with a good friend of mine, Jessie, who asked me today, and she's also a looper, so shout out to Jessie.
Jessie.
She asked me, and we actually met each other, and we were both loopers before we met in person.
Nice.
She wanted to know, she's considering adding on, and she wanted to know if she should go direct or resale. Now, she has a 75-point contract at a direct contract at an existing resort. But she's not necessarily in love with that resort over any others. She was considering Animal Kingdom because it's super great for families. She has 2 very young children, and she herself is fairly young as well. So she's I think she's in her late 20s or maybe early 30s. So sorry, Jessie, I'm giving all your personal information over here. But she wants to know direct or resale. And it's a pretty tough question because when you're looking, this is my opinion, and I'll let you guys weigh in too. She is looking at keeping it for the life of the contract. She wants to use it until she can no longer use it and or give it to her children. So she wants a long contract, and she doesn't anticipate reselling it. So resale benefits will not come into play like our other question. But she basically wants to know, is it worth the difference? And I meant to do the calculations and run it out through my spreadsheet. Didn't do that. But I will say, if you can't get a resale contract, my opinion is if you can't get a resale contract at one of the brand new resorts, as far as having, over 45 years left on the contract, then it's not entirely foolish to consider direct. What are your thoughts, guys?
I'll let you go first.
I think it's the same. A lot of the same things we usually say to folks. I realize she's wide open on whatever resort she wants, but there's just so many. At least, I'm sorry, what was her name again? Jenny? Jessie. First thing you need to kind of get a sense of is maybe you don't know which resort, but at least kind of decide. You already have at the Poly. What kind of an other experience are you looking for? Do you want something closer to Magic Kingdom? Do you mentioned Kadan, you didn't think you'd stay. We actually ended up buying at Animal Kingdom. We know we're not going to stay there all the time, but we love once in a while that it's just such a quiet, you leave the world and enter Africa experience. And so when we're not worried about having to get into the parks, first thing every day, we love going there. So figure kind of what you want to do. And then from there, absolutely what Emily said. Listen, there's just no reason outside of Riviera, and we still don't know what they're going to do with the other ones. There's no outside of buying at Riviera that has these weird restrictions. You already own a contract, so you already have the benefits. It's almost a no-brainer. Get a contract that's longer. You probably, you're only going to get 10, if it's less than 10 years of what are you getting now, you're going to live a long time. Do a lot of Disney. That's a long contract. So, I'd save the money and buy resale if you already have a direct, and just get one of the newer resorts, but make sure it's where you want to go. What region at least? What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, and that's the thing is, you can't lie to yourself, right? We've been saying this for the years when we've been doing this show. Buy where you want to stay. If she could honestly tell herself she does not care where she stays. She's like, I will stay at any Disney property. It does not. I don't care where I stay. If you could honestly tell yourself that and be happy at staying in the same place all the time, if it's resort A or B, whatever it is, then you already have the benefits. Find one of the newer resorts, like Brad said, and just go for length of
and
contract.
get a good price
and get a good deal on it. Now, for example, if you really, if you do care where you stay, I've experienced this lately over the last couple trips. I'm having a hard time finding any. I have no problem getting Saratoga. It's my home resort. Obviously, Saratoga is the easiest place to stay. Saratoga, OQ West, never a problem. Okay, I've tried to waitlist Boardwalk a few times, haven't had any success. I've tried to waitlist Wilderness, Copper Creek, and Boulder Ridge. Those are obviously two small resorts. No luck. I've had a little bit of a hard time finding resorts outside of the Sassagoula resorts, as they call them, Old Key West and Saratoga, DVC resorts. So if you really don't mind staying in the same spot all the time, just go for the length of stay and cheaper contract. If it does mean something to you, then you need to listen to what Brad just said and say, what kind of experiences do I want? Will I be happy staying here? Because I am running into that issue a little bit more and I go at quote unquote off times too, and I'm not finding 100% what I want all the time at the 6 or 7 month window.
Yeah, it's definitely getting harder. It's definitely
getting tougher. And honestly, I think that with some of the newer resorts, you will see resale contracts for Copper Creek already. They're out there. You will see Grand Floridian resale contracts, resorts that aren't that old that you can get for way less than what you would have paid, buying direct from Disney. So just, if you don't really care, just be on the websites and just kind of look for, do the point calculation. It's also what you can afford too. We always say that it's easy for us to tell you, do this, do that. It's also about what you can afford and also what you can afford on your maintenance dues too. You can get a great contract on a 200-point contract, great price on a 200-point contract, but if the maintenance is a little high at that resort and you don't want to pay, this is kind of high, also got to think about that down the line too. But if those aren't issues, obviously go with a newer resort resale. Just try to match up the use tiers. I always say that because I still get confused even with the same use tiers.
Yeah,
so that's a bonus if you can do that, but.
You can do them. You can get used to it. I have contracts that aren't, but it is a pain.
Yeah, it's a little pain.
There you go.
And I just ran the numbers really quick. I'll make this fast. But say you were to get a brand new contract at the current rate, which I think is about $188 a point direct, or you were to get an Animal Kingdom contract at a resale Animal Kingdom contract for $105 a point, which you may or may not be able to do. You're going to get approximately 12 or 13 extra years on your new contract. Say if you bought the 188 brand new resort, that boils down to about an extra $4,000 in your upfront price. But over the course of those 13 years, I'm calculating it out to be about $300 extra a year for the last 13 years.
Well, there you
so
go.
You're basically paying, so you have to, if you want 13 extra years, which I kind of think you might.
Yeah,
for
that's what it
300
sounds
extra
like.
bucks. Yeah. I'd almost go to direct for you and pick a longer term contract because you'll just be using it for so much longer.
Do the math.
That's right.
Yep.
Or call Emily up to do it for you.
Yeah, let her do the math.
Jesse, let us know what you ended up doing. I know we're all very curious to hear what you end up purchasing. We have one more listener question.
Of direct resale.
Yeah, exactly.
Our next question.
This is from Joel. He said he's been going around in circles about buying direct versus resale, especially with the new rules that came into place with Riviera. Here's this question. If I buy a direct contract for one of the original 14 resorts and then choose to sell it, do the new rules apply to that resale contract? Can the buyer only use that contract for that resort, or does that only apply to the new DVC resorts like Riviera? And we don't really technically know about Reflections yet, so we'll just say with Riviera. Because thanks for helping clear this up. Guys, what's the ruling?
So the new rules only apply to Riviera, period, and it'll follow Riviera into resale. The rules of the resort that you buy into, so Joe, if you buy your points at one of the original 14 and you buy from you want to hang out at Grand Floridian, then you buy there, then their rules will follow them in resale. So new Riviera does not apply to anything but Riviera.
Yep. Brad buys the contract, or Joel buys the contract, sells it to me.
Same rules.
Same rules. I can use it anywhere else.
Yeah. So, the only thing that changes is the benefits. Yeah. That stuff changes. Rules are the same.
Yep.
So once you buy Riviera, you're staying at Riviera.
That's it.
That's it. Yep. But of the other 14 resorts, Riviera's pain in the neck won't affect you. So
it'll be interesting to see how those sales go.
Exactly.
I follow some other blogs too about DVC stuff. We all do, and there's been speculation out there that the sales aren't as strong as they'd hoped.
Right.
So and obviously we've always said it's word of mouth. DVC word of mouth is its biggest advertiser and biggest advocator, and we're not advocating for this. So it's I'd stay far away from it unless you really love it. Yeah, I'm not buying into Riviera.
Exactly. Joel, let us know what you decide to do.
And the cool thing is you can stay at Riviera if you're a legacy resort owner anyway.
Or you can just pay cash if you want to stay there, because Florida law requires them to have cash rooms. So.
Awesome. Everybody, I think we need to wrap this up. We've reached the end of the DVC Roundtable. It's out of control. By the way, Rebecca Chun was hoping to meet us, be on the show. She got stuck in some traffic and some things, so we miss her.
Be safe, Rebecca. We miss you.
We do.
Yes. Absolutely.
Anyway, Emily Hatza Hicks, where can people find you?
You can find me hanging out at Looper Nation Live, and you can stay tuned because Tara, Renee, and I are hoping to rejuvenate the Disney lounging site, and we actually have a volunteer blog tender who's going to be going to the world soon and contributing. Thanks for Tim hooking us up with that. You may have noticed that the site has been a little bit in hibernation for a while, but we're going to try to bring it back to life. So stay tuned. In the next month or so, you may see some new activity on there. We'd love also, if you're going and you'd like to submit a review of one of these new lounges or an old favorite, we would love to hear from you. So that's the news on my front.
Awesome. Brad Coates, where can people find you?
Okay, so I'm hanging out in the Resort Loop different pages on Facebook. So you can find me hanging out in those areas. You can find me on the highway headed to Dallas in about 15 minutes.
Right.
So stay out of my way. I'm moving really fast. So
Excellent. Joe Quattrochi, where can we find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Joe Quite. You can also find me over at the Mickey Dudes podcast. And I'll also be down at the Walt Disney World Resort on September 8th to the 15th. Ooh. So look for me down there. And finally, Tim, if I just may interject this, Hurricane Dorian is bearing down on the Space Coast and Central Florida area. So thoughts and prayers to all of my fellow Floridians that are down there. And if you're at Walt Disney World and you're listening to this while you're there, just listen to the cast members. Prepare yourself for a little bit. Do a little bit of preparation yourself as best you can. If the storm hits, it looks like it's going to go right through the middle of the state. So it's probably going to hit a little bit of Walt Disney World. So listen to the cast members, do a little bit of preparing yourself, and everybody just stay safe.
Excellent. There's no better way to end the show. Everybody be safe, be smart. This is Tim Scott, ResortLoop.com, Facebook, Twitter, the website. Don't forget Resort Loop Travel if you're interested in a trip. Everybody, thanks for joining us. This is the Gateway to the Magic. Everybody says see everybody.
See everybody.
See everybody.
See everybody.
Well, that was the most creepy way to end a show ever. Oh, see everyone.
Creepy. Tried to make it creepy.
You succeeded. Vacation memories will stay with you and your family for a lifetime. The Resort Loop Travel Group was created with this in mind. Our fee-free services will relieve you of the stress and confusion of finding and booking the best vacation at the best price. After booking, we will continue to monitor for ways to save you even more on your vacation. We will check for any upcoming packages and discounts to save you as many vacation dollars as possible. Resort Loop Travel Group, gateway to your magical vacation memories. Get a quote, or for more information, visit ResortLoopTravelGroup.com.